Hey there, 30 here, and today I've decided to create this video and wanted to share with you. Hopefully this adds value to your life. So good morning to everyone. I hope you guys are doing really well today. Kakauwi ko lang from work. It was a long day for me today. Grabe, sobrang daming nangyari. Quite stressful, but it wasn't like draining, I would say. Because I feel like lagi naman may stress kahit sa trabaho. There's always gonna be conflicts, challenges, but I guess it's just a matter of how you deal with it. And for me, what I normally do pag ganito yung mga scenario is eto, na ginagawa ko ngayon, kadaldalan. Kaya so it's probably the reason why sobrang dami kong nunal sa bibig. No, but kidding aside, lagi may stress. Minsan mag-give up yung katawan mo, sa katawan mo talaga yun, na kailangan mo lang talaga magpahinga. I'm working the night shift, by the way. That's probably what makes it more tiring. It's one thing when you're working the night shift, but it's another thing when it's always stressful tas laging toxic. But I'm grateful enough na yung company na pinagtatrabuhan ko hindi naman siya ganun ka-stressful. So I'm grateful that I'm able to do it for more than 2 years now. I'm pretty excited. And gano'n lang talaga, katawan lang talaga napapagod. So kailangan ko lang magpahinga. Kailangan mo lang magpahinga. Huwag mo kumpletuhin yung pahinga mo daw sa trabaho. Bad yun. Tulog ka sa bahay para productive ka pag nasa work ka na. But anyway, I'm pretty excited today because today's video is part 13. Let's go! Ang bilis! Grabe! Well, I'm pretty excited, and before anything else, I'd like to thank everyone for always supporting my videos, for always supporting this channel. As of now, we have about 92 subscribers. Let's go! But I would be the happiest person if we can get it to 100 subscribers. That's a great milestone. I'm pretty excited and looking forward to celebrating. So, we can do it, kapatid. Let's go! You may probably notice that we've been doing Bible stories for the last 2 weeks. And ganito most likely gagawin natin moving forward. Because I feel like we can learn a lot of things. We can be encouraged. And, it can change our perspective, yung pananaw natin sa buhay. And for this week, I'm pretty excited to share this with you. And you're probably familiar with this kasi lagi nyo na to probably narinig nung bata pa kayo. And even now, kahit saan, you would always hear this. And this is a story where Jesus feeds the 5,000. You will find the story in the book of John, chapter 6, verses 1 to 14. So, ikukwento ko na lang ng sobrang bilis sa inyo. So, the story goes, sometime after this, Jesus crossed to the far shore of the Sea of Galilee, and a great crowd of people followed him because they saw the signs he had performed by healing the sick. And just for context, sobrang sikat ni Jesus dito, para siyang artista because he was performing miracles side by side. He was healing the sick. He was doing the impossible things. Kaya sobrang manghang-mangha ng mga tao. Kahit saan siya pumunta, sinusundan talaga siya. And then, Jesus went up on a mountainside and sat down with his disciples. And when Jesus looked up and saw a great crowd coming toward him, he said to Philip, "Where shall we buy food for these people to eat?" He asked this only to test him, for he had already in mind what he was going to do. And Philip answered, "It would take more than half a year's wage to buy enough bread for each one to have a bite." Another disciple, Andrew, spoke up and said, "Here's a boy with 5 small barley loaves and 2 small fish. Pero hanggang saan ba yung pwedeng mapakain itong meron ko na to?" And then Jesus said, "Have the people sit down." Paupuin niyo muna yung mga tao. There was plenty of grass in that place and they sat down. And after that, Jesus took the loaves yung binigay ni Andrew, and he gave thanks and distributed to those who were seated as much as they wanted. He did the same thing with the fish. And when they had everything, he said to the disciples, "Gather the pieces that are left over, let nothing be wasted." So they gathered them, filled 12 baskets with the pieces of the 5 barley loaves left over by those who had eaten. And after the people saw the sign Jesus performed, they began to say, "Surely this is the prophet who is to come into the world." Wow. That's an amazing miracle. I think doon sa Bible sabi niya na 5,000 men. But according to the Bible scholars, they say that it was more than that. Kasi mga men lang yun. Hindi pa kasama yung mga asawa nila tsaka mga anak. So you're probably looking at around 15 to 20,000 people. Napakain lahat yun at may sobra pa kapatid with just 5 barley loaves and 2 fish. And I think this is amazing because this is not just a typical miracle of Jesus. Kasi itong miracle na to, this was the only miracle that was recorded in 4 Gospels in the New Testament. Makikita mo to sa Matthew, you will see this in Mark, you will see this in Luke and in John. And the fact that it was recorded 4 times, it means it's very significant. And there's a lot of things we can learn from this. You have probably learned something or picked up something while I was reading it. But for me, this is just my takeaway. I've kind of converted it into a formula. Pero wag kayong matakot kasi itong formula to is very, very simple. Hindi mo kailangan ng calculator para i-compute yung formula na to. It's very easy. So number 1, add faith. Adding faith means actively choosing to put your trust in God despite the situation being impossible. And I remember when Philip was asked, saan tayo pwedeng bumili ng pagkain para mapakain itong mga tao na to? And immediately, he saw the situation as impossible. However, Jesus already knew what he was going to do. It's all planned out. And instead na maniwala na lang siya, mas nagduda pa siya and tiningnan niya na imposible yon. And it's quite, I don't know, frustrating, I would say, kasi si Philip and the other disciples have seen Jesus performing miracles even before nangyari to. Hoping that it would actually convince them by now na, okay, since nakita mo na ako nagpa-perform ng milagro doing, impossible things, possible, I'm hoping na by this time, may conclusion ka na sa sarili mo na kaya kong gawin to. But instead of that, he still doubted. Faith is the only foundation that allows us to see beyond our limitations and believe that not only God can, He will also do it. Number 2, subtract doubt. And honestly, hindi lang doubt, worries, fears, and whatever it is that's distracting you from actually believing God. Because subtracting doubt involves, removing the negative thoughts and the fears that keep us from trusting God. And sa totoo lang, yung doubt kasi can cloud our judgment and it prevents us from seeing the possibilities that our faith can do. And so that's what we need to do. We have to subtract doubt, worries, or fears, or whatever it is that's distracting us from trusting God. Number 3, divide resources. Just like the boy who offered the 5 loaves and 2 fish, he divided his resources to the people. Shinare niya yon, hindi niya pinagdamot, kahit siya lang yung may pagkain ng time na yon. And God multiplied it. So whatever it is that you have, whatever it is, even if it's just small, if you divide your resources, you give it to God, it's definitely gonna give you a miracle. And finally, number 4, multiply gratitude. Multiplying gratitude involves being thankful for what you have, even if that's the only thing you have left. But if you're grateful, I think it's a great way to acknowledge God's goodness. And that's gonna invite more blessings pagka ganun tayo ka-grateful and ka-thankful sa binibigay na blessings ni Lord. Dapat meron tayong attitude na kahit wala pa, hindi pa natin nakikita or di pa natin nararanasan, we still have to be grateful. Dapat may ganun tayong attitude. Ganun dapat yung gratitude natin, may attitude. And if you do that, if you add faith, subtract doubt, divide resources, and multiply gratitude, that's equivalent to abundance. After everyone had eaten, the disciples gathered 12 baskets of leftovers, far more than they started with. This abundance was the result of Jesus' faith. And, applying this formula leads us to an overflow of blessings. Sobra-sobra, hindi lang doon sa pag na-meet na yung needs natin, but it's more than, abundance that we're able to bless others as well. And naisip ko lang, out of all the disciples that were there, Jesus asked Philip first. And the reason is, Philip was from the area. He was from Bethsaida, yung lugar kung saan nangyari yung milagro. And so he was probably the perfect person to answer that question because he knew exactly where to obtain food and he was familiar with the region. And that is exactly the reason why he knew na yung hinihingi ni Jesus sa kanya is impossible. And naisip ko lang, sometimes when we're faced with challenges in life, it's so easy for us to rely on our experience, personal knowledge, and yung familiarity natin sa situation that we end up forgetting na ang expertise pala ni Jesus is, beyond our expertise, our ability to think. Because the scripture says, His ways are higher than ours. His thoughts are higher than ours. So sometimes may mga pinapagawa siya that doesn't make sense. That's okay. Because we can't comprehend the way God thinks kasi mas mataas yung pag-iisip niya sa atin. And Philip was trying to calculate how much it would cost and how much it would take to actually feed the 5,000 people. Pero sa totoo lang, it's already been calculated. The scripture said Jesus had already had in mind what he was going to do. It's all planned out. It's all calculated. He was calculating as if it was his responsibility na pakainin yung mga tao. But spoiler alert, that's not your responsibility. It's God's. Our role actually is just to put our trust in Him and give whatever we have. Kung ano yung sinasabi nating kokounti, that's more than enough for Jesus to operate. So, stop using your calculator because it's already been calculated. Itong masimpleng formula, add faith, subtract your worries, fears, and whatever it is that's distracting you from trusting God. Divide your resources, multiply your gratitude because that's gonna equal to a miracle. So, hopefully you've learned something today, and I hope you were encouraged and changing perspective natin when it comes to, miracles. And if you like this video, please consider to subscribe so you get updated with the upcoming videos. Thank you and have a good one. Bye!